hope is not a plan. So a lot of people hope to figure this out, right? But you have to have a plan. What I think is interesting is that no one had a plan for coronavirus, but we made it work. Much like in the NCAA tournament. In the NCAA basketball tournament every year, there's this phrase that they use called survive and advance. So if Duke or North Carolina or UCLA, whoever your team is, if they play poorly in the Sweet 16, doesn't matter. They're going to move to the next round. So if you win by 1 or win by 100, doesn't matter. The goal is to advance to the next round. So there's this idea of like survive and advance. That's also this idea of like, recovering alcoholics just have to get through today. That's really the way most people have managed their workplace for the last over a year, right? Is that we send everyone home, take the monitor off your desk, go home, we'll figure it out. And a lot of people haven't been back to the office in like 15 months. So was there a plan? Nope. Did people like have their coronavirus pandemic plan to execute? Nope. They just sent everybody home and figured it out. However, leadership's not going to let you come back to the office absent a plan. So to come back to the office and to come back in person and to do all that, you're going to have a plan. So you need to begin thinking now, how do we plan for this? What do we do? If you think that you can just kind of like, okay, everybody come back, we're going back to normal, that's really not the way it's going to work. Just before this call, I was on with someone and they were talking about how they were a shoulder to shoulder IKEA desk office space. And now no one wants to come back and sit shoulder to shoulder, that you need spacing. Even if you're vaccinated, they're like, people now kind of have this phobia about just being super close. And so they've got to figure something else out as they go forward. Second, you need to talk to your people, right? I think it's really important to solicit feedback from your employees, have real conversations with them, right? And be open to hearing what they have to say. Some of your people will be like, I am desperate to come back to the office. I need to come back. I want to be here. Other people may be like, I don't ever need to come back, right? I'm fine. I'm productive. I'm really cool with the way things are going right now. I've moved cities. I've heard that multiple times. A call I was on today, they're in Chicago. And what he found is that most of their employees used to live downtown close to their office. Well, that's very expensive. During the last year, a bunch of them moved to the suburbs. And now he's got this really nice office space downtown. And all these people are going to have long commutes and don't want to come back. So you need to talk through that, with them, but have real conversations with your people. Survey data, Wall Street Journal articles, those are all fantastic, right? But those aren't your people. You need to sit down and talk to your people and understand, what do they want to do? Do they want to come back? Do they want to stay remote? And then hear all that out. I think it's going to be an interesting position companies are about to be in, where they're going to have to help answer some really kind of existential questions for their employees. Is that employees need to figure out, how much of my human experience did I get in the office? Did I enjoy my coworkers? Did I enjoy going to lunch? Is that where my friends were? Did we go hiking and camping or whatever it is with these friends I made in the office? Or was work just something I do? And my human experience, my connective tissue comes from my community and my family and all that. And there's not a right or wrong answer, but your employees do have answers in that. And companies are going to have to be in a position to help address what makes sense for each employee and how they view work. Is that important to their human experience and who they are as an individual? And then 3, I think you have to plot a path forward. So you need to come up with a plan. So what are all the things we need to think through? Do we need to think through cybersecurity? Do we need to think through office space utilization? Do we need to think through whatever it may be from that standpoint? To talk to your people so that your plan can accommodate all these different aspects and requirements and demands and asks and pleadings that you may get from your employees. And then 3, figure out a path forward. But I think it's super important that your path forward really needs to be malleable. So think about Waze. I love Waze. If you don't use Waze on your phone, get Waze on your phone and don't use Google Maps or Apple. Use that instead because Waze is great. So number 1, Waze tells you where police are, which if you are afflicted like I am with a really heavy right foot, then that's a very positive thing to know where the police are. But more importantly, Waze uses real-time data and reroutes you based on traffic. Now, I'm one of those guys that I do not like sitting in traffic. We were talking earlier about LA traffic. I used to work in Santa Barbara and I'd be coming down to go to the airport and my GPS would say, I've got all this time to go, like just a few short miles. But when I'd hit the 405, everything came to a screeching halt, and Waze would redirect me and get me off and, take me these other back roads. I feel like I drove through some guy's backyard one time, but you just follow Waze, but Waze adapts the route based on current conditions. That's the way that your plan needs to be. You need to have a loose plan that you can adapt based on conditions. So if people start to come back, or if something, public health authorities change their guidance or whatever, you need to have a plan that can morph, change, move, and adapt based on the conditions that you're hearing from both your employees and from outside sources. But every job is easier if you have the right tools. So I have a friend of mine who bought a 1979 International Scout, which is this SUV truck thing. It's really a farm implement is what it is. But I was helping him work on it. And it was amazing because, you know, we were able to accomplish things. I never fancied myself as the kind of the guy that worked on cars, but a lot of it is if you have the right tool. And he'd worked on several other cars. And so we're like, oh, we need this. And we turn around and there this tool was. And any job you do is a lot easier if you have the right tools. Prodoscore is like that, right? Prodoscore is a tool that you need to make your return to work plan more feasible. Otherwise, you only have blunt instruments. If you've ever tried to use the wrong tool and the wrong thing, and it's very imprecise and you end up, you know, screwing stuff up more than you get it to work, the right tool makes that very effective. So right now, most companies don't have the right tools to make these decisions. Right now, a lot of it is like guesswork. A lot of it is kind of that management by walking around. If you think about Peter Drucker's old book from the 1960s or 1950s, The Effective Executive, which is where that concept of management by walking around. And that's still in play now in 2020, is people would walk around the office and they would see, oh, well, I see Kit got here at 8 o'clock today. That means Kit, you know, is ready to work. And then I see he left at 5. Oh, that meant Kit put in a full day. What they don't know is that Kit was just standing around the break room, not doing that much that day, right? Is they didn't have all, sorry, Kit, sorry to call you out. So they don't know that they didn't have all that data. So I have a friend who's a corporate pilot, and, you know, he always talks about, you know, when they have to get there early and do the pre-flight walk around and check on the plane and all this kind of stuff, that's, you know, gives you some visibility, but that's not what you need to fly the plane, right? What you really need to fly the plane is all the data that you're getting up here in the cockpit. So whereas in the office, you might walk around and kind of see, okay, things seem to be in order, things seem to be going the right direction. That's not enough granular data when you can't see all those people. When some of them, you don't really know what they're doing. They may be there at the office, but you don't really have any visibility into what they're doing all the time. And that's what Prodoscore can solve, is that Prodoscore can take these things that you couldn't know before, that you couldn't see before, and make them knowable and make them visible to you.